All right, hey everyone, welcome. For today's panel, many of you have already submitted questions, so we're going to save time at the end of it to answer some of those live. And additionally, you can submit questions using the Q&A feature of Zoom. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce myself. My name is Derek Terrell, and I'm the Director of Member Engagement here with the Coalition for College. For some of you all who might not be familiar with the Coalition for College, we are actually a group of more than 150 colleges with a proven commitment to access, affordability, and success. Together, we provide a set of tools called My Coalition to help students learn about, prepare for, and apply to college. So Coalition schools demonstrate their commitment by providing responsible financial aid and graduating students in a timely manner, including those who have been historically underrepresented in higher education. So we work together as a membership to share best practices and move higher education forward toward greater access and equity. So at about 80%, the 6-year graduation rates taken on average for Coalition schools are about 20% higher than the national average. So it's very, very important for you all to look at college graduation rates when you're thinking about where to attend college, because you want to make sure that the school is going to provide you with the resources and the support to ensure that you thrive and succeed academically, resulting in a degree and promising options for your future upon graduation. So the Coalition is much more than just an application platform. We actually have a locker, which is an unlimited storage space where you can keep anything from essays, college lists, anything that you're proud of. We also have a collaboration space, which makes it easy for you to collaborate with any sort of student supporters. So any adults or anyone you think who can help you along the process. You also can create a college list there, and you can share that and collaborate on that as well. We also have different articles and advice from schools, such as the ones that are here on the webinar with us through My Coalition Counselors. So check that out as well. And then also you can get access to a lot of different Coalition events like the one that you're on tonight. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to our presenters. Once again, thank you all so much for joining us. And I'll go ahead and pass it over to Joanna Araujo from Caltech.
Hello, everyone. Hola a todos. My name is Joanna Araujo, and I use she, they pronouns. I was born in San Salvador, El Salvador, and I'm the first person in my family to graduate from high school, college, and receive a master's degree in the United States. And I am Senior Associate Director of Admissions at Caltech, which sits on the ancestral homelands of the Tongva people. It is an honor and pleasure to be here with you tonight.
Hey everyone, my name is KV Burns. I'm an admissions counselor at the University of Washington in the Multicultural Outreach and Recruitment team. I am from the Seattle area, born and raised, and I have been working at the University of Washington for about 3 years. I love being able to help out people with the admissions process. I also forgot he, him pronouns as well. And I'm excited to talk with you guys a little bit later and answer some of your questions.
How's everybody doing? My name is Troy Lazaro. I'm the Senior Assistant Director of Multicultural Recruitment at UMass Lowell. Born in Virginia, Newport News, Virginia, raised in Bridgeport, Connecticut, and formerly educated in Massachusetts. I've been working at UMass Lowell for going on about 11 years. It's been a great experience, and we're looking forward to growth this year as well.
Hi everyone, my name is Jane. I use she, hers pronouns. I am a senior assistant dean at Wesleyan University. I was born in Vietnam, came to America when I was 12, lived in California, and part of a community-based college organization that helped me attend college in the East Coast, which is an all-women's college for those women out there looking for the opportunity as well. Really looking forward to talking to you today and really share a lot of our wisdom collectively about, what it's like to be first gen, low income and underrepresented community going to college. So thank you.
I'm gonna go ahead and hand it over to Kevin.
Hey everybody, my name is Kevin Akers. I'm from the University of Massachusetts Lowell, originally from Washington, D.C., born and raised. I study mechanical engineering. I'm a sophomore, and I'm grateful to be here today. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Patrick. I'm from Trenton, New Jersey. I use he, him pronouns. Inside the classroom, I am a double major in economics and American government. And I'm just happy to be here and answer questions for you guys on how it is to be a first gen in a great university.
Hi everyone, my name is Kayla Rolls and I attend the University of Massachusetts Lowell. I'm also from DC and I'm studying business, doing a dual concentration in marketing and management.
Hi everyone, my name is Andy Vialman Manzano, and this is my cat, Coco Chanel. I use he, him pronouns, and I attend the University of Washington Seattle campus. I am also majoring in business with specific concentrations in human resources, information systems, along with a minor in diversity. And it is an absolute honor to be here, being able to share my experience and help all of you out with your, road to college.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So actually, before I get started with the actual presentation, I did want to just clarify one thing, because there were a few questions that came in asking what exactly does being a first generation to college student mean? And if your brother or sister had gone to college, does that make you not first gen? So just a little bit of clarification around that. A first gen college student, if your parents or guardians did not attend a 4-year university and receive a degree from there, then that would make you a first generation to college student. So even if your brother or sister before you has already gone to college, you would still be a first generation college student. So awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Joanna.
Thanks, Derek. So we're going to start today by talking about how to prepare for college. And the slide here says start thinking about college early. And I really want you to think that that's a subjective term. When you start to think about college can depend on lots of different factors. So everybody's journey towards college can look different, and that's totally okay. As you think about when you should be thinking about college, it's really a time where you could consider a particular school that you might be interested in, checking out academic requirements or admission requirements. But otherwise, I would say it's never really too late to think about college, and it looks different for everyone. As you connect with teachers and counselors, sometimes you might not think that this makes the most sense. And I know in my case, that was definitely it. I was not the best student in high school, and I didn't receive a lot of support from counselors when I was talking to them about college, and I didn't connect teachers as part of my college journey. So if you have a mentor as a teacher or a counselor, someone that you feel could definitely give you insight and guidance, please reach out to them, as they can really give you a lot of information that you might not already have. As you think about academics and classes, ask yourself questions like, what classes do I really enjoy? Which ones do I find challenging in all of the best ways? Do you gravitate towards certain activities that have ties to academics, or are you part of clubs on campus that focus in on your academics? These could be some telltale markers of things that you enjoy, and perhaps could be great indicators of a future major that you might be interested in college. When you involve your parents, guardians, and other family members as a first generation college student, I know I had a hard time with this. I'm also an immigrant, and my mother did not speak English, so it was really up to me to figure things out on my own. And while I wore that as a badge of pride and honor, I would have liked to have more support, but I did see that my parents were supportive in making sure that I had lunch, or that I had at least a lamp next to my bed when I was doing homework for the classes I did enjoy going to. So when you think about going to college, it's really an experience of your support network at home. Whoever these folks are, they're all going to go on this journey with you. So it's important that you bring them along and rope them in on conversations that could be challenging as well. I know for me, my immigration status was a big thing that made me afraid to go to college, because it made me feel like this is the first time I have to be an adult on my own and face things on my own. My parents didn't really provide a space at home where we wanted others to know what my immigration status was. And so that created a lot of fear for me when it came to approaching a college to think about. And as you think about options, I never thought that size, location, majors would matter. I really only had experiences of hearing of good schools. And because other people said they were good, I thought those were the best options for me. But if you do some research, you'll find that there are small colleges and universities or larger ones. What is it that you want in these college experiences? And how do you then tie these into what your next options look like? Next slide, please. As I mentioned earlier, when we are first generation college students, we feel like we have to figure things out on our own. And so one of the ways that you might feel you have to do this is learning more about colleges. And so due to COVID and this global pandemic that we're all surviving through, it's really important that you know that every one of the co-panelists here who work in the admissions office are really mindful of the difficulties that we're all experiencing. And we're open-minded in knowing that we all are going through very trying things, but safety is one of our biggest concerns. And so if you have access to internet and a device to use internet, please definitely go online. All of our websites have now been changed to include more updated information. You will see if we're offering virtual visits. We may be connecting through social media channels a little bit more, or have prepared classes or videos from faculty, because we still want students to really get a sense of what it's like to be on our campus with our students and meeting our faculty, even though we're now in this virtual world. Campus visits might look different from school to school. Some schools could be open for visits, others might not. And so it's really important that you reach out to schools that you are interested in and see what their protocols are at this point. But please remember that regardless of your ability to visit physically or not, there are going to be schools that don't take this into consideration when they're reviewing your application. And so it's important for us to have all of the available information for you on our websites and our social media channels so that you can explore these options too. You should also be able to find a mailing list on our websites. So if you do want hard copies of information, and our offices are available to mail those to you, you can have that as an option, or it could come through an email as well. Something I never heard of when I was looking for colleges was fly-in programs. And this is an exclusive opportunity for students to submit a short application or complete a short form so that you can get to know our programs and colleges in a very unique way, where there's a special schedule where we have interactions with current students, faculty members. You could be even a guest in a special class or a special event that's going on, or maybe even into a lab. So if you are looking at a particular college or university, look up fly-in programs. It can even be done by a simple Google search. Another thing I never did in college or searching for college was a summer program. And these could be great opportunities if you are wanting to get to know what it feels like to be on a college campus. And again, this might look differently now that we're living through COVID, but again, it gives you another unique opportunity to get to know the college in a much more intimate and individual type of way. I will share that my college search was a little bit different than maybe most people. I copied everything that my friends were doing. So when I was thinking about what schools to apply to, I listened to what they were doing and I copied that. I wouldn't recommend that for you, because I think a list of non-negotiables is important. What are some of the experiences you definitely want to have that are new or that you want to continue in college? What are some of the areas that you want to be challenged in? And I think as we prepare for college, it can be an overwhelming sensation that there are so many options out there. But once you start really asking yourself questions about what you're interested in, where it is you want to be, I don't think that you should worry too much about the end of it, graduation, but really think about what you want those 4 years or 6 years to be like and what you want to experience.
Yeah, and thank you so much, Joanna, for that. Like, I think you did a wonderful job kind of preface to students, what step you need to take before you prepare to put your application together. So definitely do your research, start thinking about the courses that you want to take, or how to improve your grades, and start building connection with your counselor or your teacher. And the next step, of course, when you have identified those schools, is how to put your application together. And the first the biggest advice that I would give to all the students is always to be your authentic self. You can never guess what each institution is looking for every year. And you know, so it's important that you stay true to who you are and present yourself as a scholar, as a human being, as an individual to our institution. And with that said, you know, whether you're using the Coalition app or the Common app, it's important to remember that every part of the application represent a dimension of who you are, right? Your transcript will tell us who you are as a student, the courses that you have chosen to take, whether they're in AP, in honors, or IB curriculum, how you have been challenging yourself. The letter recommendation from your counselor and your teachers, make sure to double check. Each school will have different requirements in terms of how many letters they want. We'll talk about who you are in the classroom. So, you know, sometimes it's okay to ask that teacher that you didn't have a good grade in because in the beginning, because they can talk about how strong and how much you have changed throughout the course. You know, don't worry about, you know, being in a school where there's 800 students, your counselor doesn't know who I am. That's totally fine. You know, we are professionals and we have been to understand the context of your high school as well. And beyond that, a lot of time our school will also allow additional letter recommendations. So if you feel like there's a community leader, there's a coach, there's a supervisor that can talk about your, you know, who you are, your work ethic and whatnot, you can also utilize them as a resource to submit an additional letter of recommendation to us. So be strategic about who you're choosing to write about you. And the next step, another dimension of who you are is your extracurricular activity, and which is kind of like, I feel like an ancient word now to use. I would prefer to say life outside of school, because a lot of time, you know, student will have the time and the resources to participate in a wide range of activities, but sometimes students have to take care of their families, or they have to work 20 to 30 hours a week to support themselves or their family as well. And those things are also important for you to share in your application. Just because you're taking care of your sibling and you don't have time to do tennis or be in theater doesn't mean that you're not involved. You know, you are also doing your own thing. So making sure that you're sharing those information with us, you're listing out all of those things. If it's like this club that you started and it's really new, you know, write a sentence or two about what it is, so that we can also understand the context of the community that you're participating in, the leadership role you're taking on, or how are you making changes on your campus. And the next thing is always the personal essay. I think everyone is always really nervous about this. My personal advice is reading over 10, 15,000 applications is majority of the time you guys do a wonderful job. Don't be scared. Definitely approach the piece in a more creative writing form. You know, doesn't have to follow a structure of intro, body, or conclusion. Really take us there. Take us to who you are. Take us through that experience where, you know, you might have been challenged, how you're still thinking about it, or how you might have transformed from this one particular experience. A really great advice I have heard before is, imagine you finish your piece, you walk into a community that knows you very well, and you don't have your name on that piece of paper. Can someone pick it up and read and say like, oh yeah, I know that's Jane. Like, I don't even need her name and I know that's who she is through this piece of paper. So think about it that way, right? Approach it in the way that who and what part of who I am do I want to share to the admission counselor that's reviewing my application. And the next thing that I feel like a lot of time people don't talk about is the interview. A lot of time, these application form can be a blunt instrument, to be honest with you, that we don't really have a chance to hear your voice beyond just the personal statement. So a lot of our institutions offer interviews, whether it is through the alumni network or through our student or to sometimes to ourselves. If that is available and you have your top 5 or 6 school, definitely take the opportunity to utilize this resource, because it's a way to also showcase a different dimension of who you are that maybe the Coalition apps isn't allow you to do so. So, and that will become a part of, you know, your application too, so that when we're reading your application, we see so many things about you that we can put them together, envision who you are on our campus, whether or not you're a good fit for us, and also, you know, how you can make our community better as well. Last but not least, finances and financial aids are really important. Whether you're looking at a public or a private institution, each of us have different requirements when it comes to the FAFSA or the CSS form, you know, making sure whether or not we're merit-based or we're grant-based, those information, you know, making sure that you're kind of diving down into those nitty-gritty of it. And don't be afraid to reach out to the financial aid people. They will be there to support you through all those questions with all the forms as well. And also reach out to us if you can get in contact with them. Next slide, please. So now that you apply, you throw in all your application, and now we are, we excited we have admitted you, and you are, you're now, the role is kind of reversed, right? Now we are kind of rolling out our red carpet and inviting you to kind of check out our community, and hopefully you will be joining us. So, we're putting our best show for you. So, I would say that many, if not all, colleges will be hosting an admitted student event. In typical year, they would be on campus. Some even have the funding to fly out students as well. So kind of similar to what Joanna was saying earlier, we will fly out a certain group of students and provide free transportation or support some sort of transportation costs for you to get on campus. So make sure that during this time period, continue to check your emails. So if these invitation comes out, you will be able to apply and come and visit our campus. But in thinking of context of this year, of course, we could have COVID, maybe or maybe not, we won't be able to bring you on campus. So it's important that you attend these virtual online programs that we're putting up for you, because similar to being in person, all of these programs will have information about the academic resources, the research opportunity, the social opportunity that you may have on campus, about our career, a chance for you to network with our professor and talk to our student, and even sometimes attend a class to see whether or not this is the vibe of the community that you want to be in. So it's important that, I know it's the second semester and all that, but it's important that you try to attend as many as you can, especially for the school that you're seriously looking at. And of course, connecting with current student in a way, as I mentioned earlier, if you can, try to get in contact with a current student, because they're the one who can really answer what you're looking for and what you're needing, right? It's important to get a sense of the community, whether or not hey, Patrick is someone I actually want to get lunch with. Yeah, Patrick is someone I can talk to about my paper. Patrick is actually a Wesleyan student. He's on panel with us right now. So that's kind of what you want to think about in order to see whether you could be happy there and you'd be a good fit there for the institution. Also, for me, specifically back in the day, I was really big on dance. So every time I got a chance to fly out to any of the school that I was admitted to, I make sure to attend a dance class and, to talk to the dance professor. As silly it was for 16, 17 years old, I felt like that was so important to my identity as a person that had to be good in order for me to attend school. So that's kind of like a small example of making sure that wherever community that I'm in, I will be happy with. And last but not least, the financial aid piece, making sure that you're going over that package with your family, or maybe talk to your counselor, or reach out to your mentor, because sometimes the differences can lay in whether a loans amount, whether or not there's a certain GPA you have to keep in order to keep on receiving scholarship, work study, some school cover books, some school cover flights. What are those tiny little nuances that you have to think about before you decide on the institution? And before we move on to the next section, I just want to kind of pull in Patrick here. Patrick, if you have a piece of advice for student who is looking at, who is putting their application together or choosing the institution that they want to attend, if you can just give a piece of your wisdom to the group.
Yeah, thank you, Jane. I appreciate it. One piece of advice that I would give to you guys is when selecting a school, I would definitely ensure that they have a community for you and a welcoming community, especially being a first-gen low-income student. You may not always have the resources. Universities may not always have the resources to fully support you. And being a first-gen, you will come across several situations where you feel like you need an extending hand, a helping hand to help you get through the 4 years of college that you're planning to attend, right? So definitely ensure that a university has a community for you. The university supports you fully in every aspect of the way, not simply educational wise, but apart from that and above and beyond. And that's something I'll definitely push for, because that will go a long way, especially when you need help the most.
Thanks so much, Patrick. So we're actually going to move on to the next section about thriving in college. And I know for me, I'm a first gen college student. And for me, the end goal was just thinking about getting into college. I never really thought about what would I need to actually be successful in college. So I'm going to pass it over to Troy, if you can tell us a little bit about thriving in college as a first gen student.
Definitely. Thank you. So thriving in college is a big deal. I mean, getting in the door is great. Preparing is awesome. That's all laying your groundwork. But what's gonna get you through? What's gonna give you that energy to make that difference in your life, to make the difference in the world, and really overall to make a difference in your family's life, is being able to not only just appear, but thrive, to make the university yours, and likewise you become a part of the university. So I'll start briefly because I really want you to hear from my students regarding this, but I'll give you a little bit of what we have here. So focus on staying connected with the admissions and the financial aid offices. They know you from jump. You applied through them. You received your financial aid through them. So they are your first line of connection, of friendship, right? So now you're in the school. Don't just take the admissions counselors that you worked with to get in and say, okay, they did their job, now I'm moving on, and I'm going to go and try to find my own way. Those are your connections to being able to connect with other departments, whether it be residence life, whether it be the Office of Multicultural Affairs. The admissions department is connected to all of those. So definitely take time to meet your admissions counselor if you haven't met them directly, and sit down with them in the office and say, first of all, thank you, and I'm glad to be here. What does it take to make a student really stand out at this university? The admissions office is going to know that because they're the first line to really express what students have actually thrived in college. We're using you guys, we're using your success to be able to recruit new students. So being able to sit down with an admissions counselor or a financial aid officer and, ask them, what is it that I need to do to really, kind of set my groundwork here at the university? They'll actually help open a lot of doors for you to get involved and to really, be able to grow. Because now that they've got you in, it's actually part of admissions department to really connect in with you being able to be retained, meaning coming back next year and feel good about your college. So sitting down and building a personal connection with your admissions counselor is a big deal. I can't speak to how many students, that I have, built personal relationships with them and their families, because of the fact that I care about each student that comes in. And believe it or not, if your institution, if you chose that institution really cares about you as well. So connect with your financial aid officers and your admissions officers because they're going to be your ground into breaking into many different things um, at your university. The next thing is reaching out to other necessary offices, resources, such as Residence Life, the Center for Diversity and Inclusion, different affinity groups, getting involved in clubs and organizations. I cannot speak to how uh, that was a saving grace for me in college. My story quickly is I was an athlete. I was recruited to play football from Connecticut. I chose to go to a specific college in Massachusetts. As being a first generation student and a student of color, I was carrying not only the weight of being a first generation to college student and the oldest in my immediate family to go to college, but I was also carrying on the back of or on my shoulders, the representation of my community, Bridgeport, Connecticut, which is primarily African American, Latino, and I was an athlete. So I had all of these different stereotypes on my back, right? So, being able to succeed, it's like, if I fail, it's almost like I failed all these different little components that came along with me. So being able to get connected with the office of residence life, the Center for Diversity or, Office of Multicultural Affairs and get involved in clubs. It really helped me get connected with other students who also shared the same burden or the same blessing, depending on how you see it, in that process. And that's where you gain energy, right? That's where you gain energy saying, being able to connect with other people and say, you know what, I am not the only one. I am not alone here. Small things, and I'm going to throw these in, such as if you can have an opportunity, set an opportunity to meet with your chancellor, to meet with your president, because those are things that are going to separate you from the pack. Those are things that you can always call back on if you're going through, a tough time. Having a connection with people that are higher up in the university are really going to be able to help pull you through because they're there. They want to see you thrive. They want to build relationships with you. That's what I did. Within the first 2 weeks of being in school, I set up an appointment with the president of the school to see where he was going on diversity at the university and how I could help. Um, and whatever that is, you definitely want to take the time to stand out. Sitting in the front of the class rather than sitting in the back of the class. Those are specific tools that you need to be able to stand out as a first generation student or as a student of color. Going to a PWI, which is a predominantly white college. Not kind of like fading away. Because believe it or not, the stereotype can flip as you being one of the only can actually help you be one of the successful. They want to see you thrive. They want to see you do well. But a closed mouth doesn't get fed. So definitely getting involved in these clubs and organizations are going to help you be able to be the most powerful self that you can be, and you'll be able to proudly represent all of the communities and all the backgrounds that you carry with you to this new university, your new home, that you'll be able to add to the university by getting involved and getting your name known. Even if you're a quiet student, it's no big deal to really meet somebody else that you can connect with that actually can be a voice piece to you. There's always a group setting. There's always a village that you can get involved with to grow in your rise at a university, to really be able to make it yours and be able to thrive, not just survive. It was stated earlier, we are surviving this coronavirus, but there are some people who are thriving in it. The people who are going to make it out and be able to pull 4 or 5 people with them, and through this pandemic, it's very similar in college. You might be one of the only students of color. You might be one of the only students that are first generation. But if you can reach back and thrive, you're going to bring 3 or 4 other people with you through the process. So you're not surviving, you're thriving. The aspect of school. So continue to keep doing that. I'm going to let my students talk about their aspects and what they did, to be able to thrive in college and what they're doing currently. Kayla, I'll let you go first, and then Kevin, you guys can go right on ahead.
Hi, everyone. Again, my name is Kayla, and I attend the University of Massachusetts Lowell. And something I did, like Mr. Troy said, was take advantage of all the opportunities handed to us. So in the beginning of the school year, we were able to meet with all the chancellors, the vice presidents, and through that I made a number of connections and networked. And with that, I was able to get my first on-campus job, something that was actually related to my major, and something that I've taken with me to apply for new job paths. And that's one of many things that I've been able to do at my university. And I can let Kevin speak on some other things.
Hello, everybody. My name is Kevin Akers. I'm a sophomore mechanical engineering major at the University of Massachusetts Lowell with a double minor in aerospace studies and business management. And first off, thank you guys for letting me be here and letting me speak to you guys. But the number one thing that I did when I first got into college is expand my network. The value of your network is the value of really who you are in college, especially when it comes to people like administrators, especially when it comes to jobs. Who is what your opportunities are going to be, what opportunities are going to be present in front of you. And one of the first things that I would do is whenever you take a class is email that professor before the class starts. Usually the professor off the first day, or you can email them off the first day, but emailing them ahead of time lets them know who is the name, what is the story behind the face that they see in class that's sitting in the front of the class, like Mr. Troy was talking about. Also, having an elevator pitch is one of the best ways you can introduce yourself to people. Having that 30 seconds of this is who I am, this is who I want to be, and this is how you can help me get there helps people get you to where you want to be. And also, I would just use social media. Getting a LinkedIn got me one of the jobs that I had, the job that I'm going to have next summer. That's definitely another tool you should definitely use for thriving in college. Thank you.
So another part for preparing for success, what to do during the summer before college. Specific colleges will have, like we were speaking about earlier, which is fly-in dates, or summer overnight programs, or building things like that. If you can get in contact with your college to ask if there are programs that can get you ready for that, whether it be social programs or academic. Some schools have what they call bridge programs. So if you've been selected, oh, I'm sorry, KB. There you go. I'm gonna let you go on that, but you can speak on that. There you go.
So, hey, what's going on, guys? It's KB again from the University of Washington. And yeah, so me and Andy, who I have with me, are going to be talking a little bit about, furthering the discussion about thriving in college, and talking about it more specifically about during the summer break before you actually step onto campus, and also financial literacy before and during college. So first and foremost, the first thing you should do the summer before is celebrate. You just got accepted. You know you're going to college. Like, this is a momentous time for you. So you need to be able to sit back in that and celebrate that you were admitted. This isn't something that happens with everybody, so it is an exciting time for everybody. You also need to be able to relax, sit in that moment, be able to celebrate, relax a little bit. But right after that, the real work starts. You got to go straight into everything that else that comes with being a college student. So what are the things that you should do once you've been accepted and in the summer right before you go to college? So something that you should definitely do are reach out to departments. So if you're going to be coming on the campus and you know that you're going to be interested in psychology, a way that a lot of the students that are on this panel already have talked about is getting involved or reaching out to, like Troy said, reaching out to the president, making sure that you talk to your professors, getting involved in a way that makes you feel a lot more human than just somebody that's in a class. This is going to be a really important skill to develop, especially if you're going to be going to a larger institution. And even more so, a larger PWI, like Troy said before, because they operate fundamentally different than if you go to like a smaller college like and an HBCU. So making sure that you reach out, you look at those departments that you're going to be getting into, you reach out to those professors, you figure out what you're going to need to do. It's going to be really important for you to have this personal connection to your college that you're at. Another thing that you need to do is also get involved in summer programs. There's going to be a lot of bridge programs or things that you can do during the summer that can make you feel like a deeper connection to the university or institution that you're going to. So if they have summer programs in the major that you're thinking about going into, or if you really just want to meet other people that are coming into the same college and meet friends, there's a lot of opportunities for summer programs that most institutions are putting on that you can get involved in before you get there. For the University of Washington, speaking specifically, we also have our freshman orientation during the summer. Not all schools have orientation in the summer. Some of them do it in the fall when you're already on campus. But for us specifically and some other colleges, making sure that you go to orientation so you can get an understanding of what's going on campus. The brother before me, Troy, was talking about getting involved in clubs. You can learn more information about that. Those are going to be really important too, because another really important part of your summer before you get onto campus is making sure that you find community so that when you land there, you have people to rely on. You have a family. You have people that when it gets tough, because it's going to get tough, regardless of how smart we all thought I was, because I thought I was really smart. And then I got to college and I got challenged and I realized, oh, I need to study. I need to learn all of these things. So having that community to rely on, whether it's a study group or it's people that look like you, and for me, it was a BSU, whether that's a program that you're looking to get into and a professor, finding that community in whatever form that looks like for you is going to be really important so that you know you have people that you can rely on. Another thing, of course, and it's going to kind of go into what we were talking about before. It's a little bit different right now with the pandemic, is visiting. So if you haven't been to campus, then visiting for the first time. If you have been to campus, visiting again. What you can do while you visit your campus is you can find the dorms that you're potentially going to live in. You can find the departments that you're looking to apply to. You can find where your classes are going to be. If you're going to a very large institution, it might make sense for you to map out your path from one class to the next so that you don't get lost, so you don't look like a freshman even though you are a freshman. It's going to be really important to make sure that you have all of these things down, because if you're like the University of Washington on a large campus and you only have 10 minutes to get between your classes and you have maybe a 10-minute walk but you don't know which direction, these are things that you can have a lot of time. You have at least 3 months in the summer to figure these things out before you actually show up on campus. So also something that Troy talked about too was making sure that if you are lost and you aren't really sure where to go, I mean, we're all first generation students, so you don't have this roadmap already created. You don't know exactly what you're supposed to be doing. Reach out to your admissions team. So they are the people who have been working with you already. They're the people who have already done this before. They have a lot of the answers you're looking for, whether it's finding your community, getting involved with clubs or in sports or in anything like that, or just general information about the campus and what it looks and feels like when you get there as an incoming student. So making sure that you lean onto that admissions team in the summer before you get there is going to be really important as well. And they can, of course, help you out with academic things and things of that nature if you're not sure, like what classes to take or, what path to take once you're on campus. And then lastly, before I hand it off to Andy, to kind of segue before he talks about being financially literate, you need to really be applying for scholarships. This is going to be basically, if you don't already have a full-time job, this is going to be your full-time job, is making sure that you can pay for your schooling once you actually get there. I know for me, myself, I basically worked a full-time job of looking for scholarships and applying to them so that by the time I got there in the fall, I didn't have to worry. And that's going to be something where it just takes a lot of time. But you have a lot of resources. You can, again, lean on that admissions team and they have resources for you as well. But that's going to be something that you really want to do and spend a lot of time on. All right.
Thank you, KB. Inspirational and amazing as always. So yeah, along with all of that, financial literacy before and during college is one of the most absolute foundational things that is going to constantly either A, bother you, or no, actually it's just always going to bother you. It's always going to be in the back of your mind, but it's okay. It doesn't have to be some very huge stressful thing. First and foremost, and you're going to get sick of hearing this, but FAFSA that's kind of going to be your lifeline in terms of finances. Unless, because you're all rising stars, the school's going to be like, you know what, we're going to full ride. Don't even worry about it. But just in case, always please do your FAFSA because especially along with a lot of scholarships and stuff, you'll notice that a lot of the times when you're applying in their like requirements and stuff, it's just like, hey, like fill out your FAFSA, please fill out your FAFSA. If you're undocumented, look into potentially if your state, I know Washington does, has like specific kind of like FAFSAs for you. In Washington, we call it the WASFA. So look into your options, always look into any time of financial aid, but the FAFSA, as stressful as it is, FAFSA is your friend. Make it your friend, be cool with it, be comfortable with it. Especially in your first year, it can be very, very daunting and scary, especially not only as first gen with not having anybody to like in your family to ask, but especially if you were, grew up low income like me, like money kind of starts out scary especially when you start seeing like lots of zeros after the 5 or like after the 10, it gets a little scary. But take confidence, utilize your community. There's so many people here and in your community, in your high school, alumni, your admissions offices who are here to help you. They know that the FAFSA is scary, but they won't know that you are scared of it and having trouble with it unless you talk about it, unless you ask for help, unless you go look for these resources. Google especially, I mean, like worst case scenario, if you're up at night trying to fill out your FAFSA, Google is also your friend. But the thing with FAFSA, you need to remember, you have to fill this out every single year to secure your financial aid for every consecutive year in college. No matter what college you're at, they will almost always have like a deadline for you of like, hey, like make sure you fill out your FAFSA before January 1st. Earlier the better, just get to it when you can get to it. And especially in this first time that you're going to do it, write down everything. Please write down everything. It is a running joke that we all forget the password, but please, you don't want to be part of that joke. Just write down the password. Please write down your FAFSA passwords, write down your parents' FAFSA passwords. Just have everything in a little book. You can keep it in a little file. Like, it's going to save you so much time, anxiety, stress, so many things if you stay organized right now. Ask your questions now. If you're a little confused and you get through it now, ask them afterwards, like make use of all of your resources, and especially all of you as first gen. This is something that I know inherently without even knowing any of you, is that you're scrappy, and scrappiness is what's going to get you through college. It is finesse and it is scrappiness, and you're all amazing at it. So utilize that because you're already stars when it comes to that. And again, going into all of that, reach out to, the financial aid office, reach out to any alumni or any people who are going to the college that you're going to from your high school. Reach out to anybody who's gone through this process before, because just because you were first gen does not mean at all in any way that you don't have somebody to ask. You always have access to a pathway, to a, footsteps to follow, anything like that. And then I'd say the very last thing is very much going to be, budgeting and learning how to write down all of these numbers when you're doing your FAFSA, when you're getting your scholarship, stuff like that. For me, I cannot tell you the amount of stickiness that I went through of going through these numbers over and over and over and over again. I'm just like, oh, that number changed. Like, let me redo the math. Then you're going to realize, you're like, oh, wait a minute, I forgot to factor in like housing, or I forgot to factor in my transportation, or whatever it is. And, don't be scared by these numbers. These numbers are big, they're scary, they're daunting. but they are controllable. Everything, like, it is in your power to get to college. It is in your power to pay for college. It is in your power to graduate from college debt free. As much as, you know, as scary as it is and everything, for me especially, like, I did not think I was going to college specifically because of finances. I was ready to apply. I was very excited to get in, but end of the day, I was like, well, if I can't pay for it, like, that's it. That's where I get cut off. But, you know, by utilizing my community, by utilizing my resources, by asking questions, I got into the UW. I got my stuff paid off like full ride. KB was actually the one who delivered my scholarship to me in class. So that was the day that for me, you know, that was my like, oh, okay, I'm going to college. You're all going to have that moment. I can promise you, you're all going to have that moment when you're doing your budgets and you're doing your math and you realize like, oh, my scholarship's actually paid for everything. Like, I'm good. I'm chilling. I'm ready to go to school. Everything's paid for. And you're just going to feel like this weight lifted off of you. And that's when you're really ready to succeed. If you can really get these financial literacy thing down now, I can promise you, you are going to be so like weightless and free to thrive more than you ever could before. But that being said, like, it takes time. I just had to fill out my third FAFSA and I was still a little stressed, but less stressed on my first time and less stressed on my second time. So it gets better with practice. Always ask your questions. And most of all, like, believe in yourself. Y'all got this. Y'all are scrappy. Y'all are powerful. You got this. And we're always here for you, of course.
All right. Thank you all so much. Thank you to all of the schools for all the information. And thank you for the students for sharing your stories and for the advice as well. So we're going to go ahead and move into a question section. So a lot of you all have already submitted questions when you registered for this. So we'll go through some of those. And I see that there are still some questions in this live Q&A and we'll get to those as well. So let me stop sharing here so you can see all of these wonderful faces here. And I will go ahead and start with the first question. So the first question actually is, aside from coalition events like this one and the resources offered through my coalition, what are other organizations or resources that first generation students can turn to for support when applying to college? So I might want to turn this over to some of the students to hear about what are some organizations or some people or some resources that you all turn to. And I'll go ahead and start with Kevin.
I'm speaking of my personal experience in high school and in college. I am a part of NSBE, the National Society of Black Engineers, and I am the treasurer for my chapter. One fire, more fire, you understand? NSBE is more than just for college students, and NSBE is more than just for just engineering majors, just STEM majors. NSBE is even more than just for Black students, I will say. We support diversity on campus and across the world. We support all students of color. And NSBE, I'm telling you, NSBE, they will dedicate their time and energy to your success financially, to your success career-wise, especially college-wise. They really want to learn you, and this is a personal experience you're having with college applications. And it's important to have a mentor that also understands you on a personal level. And NSBE definitely offers that. Outside of NSBE, I would definitely say your local Boys and Girls Club or YMCA. I was a YMCA kid as well. Those people are also dedicated to your future. And those are both the resources that I think are universal, pretty universal. And especially given things are virtual makes things a lot easier to connect over state lines. So definitely reach out to those organizations.
Eric, is it cool if I step in real quick?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I just wanted to echo what Kevin said, just because I work with NSBE a lot now, and sometimes like they'll have so much energy that they'll put like pressure on me as an admissions counselor, and they're like, "What are you doing for your students?" And it's the best feeling to have somebody check you when they're like, you're not showing up enough for these students, because you know that passion is real and that they're showing up for these students. And that's just something that, like, if you're interested in engineering as a Black student or as just a student of color, that's an organization that I work with personally that I would really champion as well. And they've done a lot of really good work, and they're going to continue doing that work. And it's really cool to hear that experience is not just on like here on the West Coast, but it's national, and that same energy, whether you're ready for it or not, they're bringing it, and that's exciting.
Awesome, thank you. I'll go ahead and go on to another question here. And this really speaks to, I guess, some of the anxiety around maybe applying and getting those applications ready, like Jane had spoken about. So one student asked, how can they highlight their struggles of being a first generation student in their application while also trying to stand out, but also not wanting colleges to feel sorry for them? So if one of the admissions counselors would like to take that. I'll go ahead and hand it to Joanna, if you don't mind.
No, I was just gonna unmute myself. Lots of thoughts come to mind really quickly, actually. And I want to make something very clear in that whenever we're reviewing applications for prospective students, we are not in the business of feeling bad for someone. We empathize with people, but this is, applying to college is not a charity, right? We're not here to make others feel bad about their lived experiences. And I would actually flip that, because your lived experiences that include all of your lived identities and backgrounds are what make our campuses much more stronger. And so one of the hardest things that I think comes from writing essays or really talking about yourself is that it seems unnatural. When you have your lived experiences, it seems uncomfortable, unnatural. You don't want to brag because of who you are and where you come from. And I think when we in the admissions office are reviewing your applications, we are using your writing as a method of getting to know you. While some institutions offer interviews as part of their process, others don't. And so the one time that you have to speak to an admissions counselor is through your writing. And lots of different people are going to be reading your essays and short answers, right? But I really encourage you to think about you, think about your honest self. Don't think about what you want other people to learn about you because you think that's what they want to hear. Really be honest about where you come from, what your goals are. Grit, I think, is really important. We all have it as first generation college students. We've all overcome lots of barriers, and there will be more barriers for us to overcome. So really think about how you can show this. Don't only tell us, show us how you live your life, what decisions you've made, why they're important to you, what your next goals are.
Can I also jump in and just add one thing? I personally struggled with this a lot when I was writing my essay, and I think you touched on this as well, but just like our communities inherently, we are taught from a very young age, I think, to be modest and believe that we cannot necessarily be proud of our achievements, much less the things that we've overcome. And I think first and foremost, I want you to all like recognize and learn very fast that there is as thin as you think it is, the line between walking arrogance and walking pride of like, this is what I've been through and this is who I am is very different. And it speaks volumes on your character. And you'll know when you're being like, oh yeah, like I'm above everything. You'll know. Take pride in like who you are, what you've done, and me having worked with students who have worked in the field, students who for example have I grew up like helping my mom clean houses and stuff, and a lot of students are like not you don't want to put that on your resume. You don't want people to be like, oh, like you have to work like that. But really take pride in the fact that that is an individual experience to you. There is nobody else who can really recognize and understand the experience that you went through except for yourself. Nobody knows you better than yourself. And that is something to take pride in. Take pride in the experiences that you've gone through. And just like Johanna was saying, or just like show us more so than tell us. You can tell us that, I grew up in poverty and I grew up in a single parent household and all of this stuff. That's what happened. But what did you do with it? Where did it take you? Why do you want to, go support your community? Why do you find yourself in so many clubs? Why do you want to be a leader? That is truly what the meat of like who your person is and what your identity is. And a lot of the times what I've noticed with students is while they're writing their personal statements, you're going on your own kind of personal journey, which is sometimes also what makes the whole college application process so hard, is that you're finding this fine line of between of like, oh, like, I don't want to unpack trauma and like be like, yeah, like feel sorry for me and let me in. But once you move past that fear of just like, oh, like this is what I've been through, you start realizing like, you know what, like, no, like I've been through that. I survived that. I thrived through that. I'm here now and I'm moving forward and I'm ready to move forward and I'm ready to keep going. And I'm ready to make sure that this is an experience that I didn't necessarily enjoy going through. And I want to make sure that other people don't have to go through it. I want other people to just have, the benefits of what I went through. And that right there, that's what we want to hear, because that is the reason that you're telling us the story. Always use your stories and your experiences and everything as a springboard, because you are so much more than what you've been through. You are like that and so much more. So take pride in who you are, take pride in your stories, because like when they say like a story is like worth everything, that's why. Is because you're so much more than your story, and you're all capable of doing that.
Thank you so much, Andy. That actually kind of goes really well into this next question, which is asking about what it was like to come into an environment that no one in your family had been in before. And how do you adjust to that? And how do you relate to your family when they might not be able to relate to your new lived experiences? Do you want to take that, Kayla?
Yes, I can. I would say it was a little stressful, especially going so far away from home. I'm originally from DC, and coming all the way up to Massachusetts was stressful within itself. But once we got here, there's a group of 20 of us here on a scholarship, and we were able to rely on each other heavily through our DC CAP program. So I use those resources. I'm also in a program back home called College Bound, where we're provided a virtual mentor, and we have to do monthly check-ins with one another. So I was able to use both of those crutches to get me through my first semester, which it was a little difficult, but I was able to get through it. So just be able to use those programs around you and people that come from the same background as you to help you get through your challenges. And don't be afraid to ask for help ever. I did that in my first semester when I was going through like my first struggles, being homesick, those tough classes, and I was able to use my resources to help me get through those things. So, yeah.
All right, awesome. So what's interesting is there were a lot of questions about resources and support, not only once you're actually in college, but the resources and supports that you all sought while you were in high school. So I feel like I can throw this out to everyone. So if the admissions folks want to talk about what resources your school has for first-gen students, and then for the student, you can talk about the resources that you use or the resources that you used when you were in high school.
Yeah, I'll address a little bit of that. So, each college should, and I'm saying should, have an office of multicultural affairs or a diversity office where you're able to find, the connection to you and the connection to the rest of the world. Because the rest of the world might not look like, or it shouldn't look like, your university. Your university should be a piece of the world. So to get connected with the rest of the world, that's where your Office of Multicultural Affairs is, right? Or your Office of Diversity is. That's where you can find yourself, find others, and find doors into new opportunities. So definitely make that your first step as a first gen, as a student of color, as an ally student who wants to get into being able to get beyond themselves or get beyond their own thoughts. Because there's students that come from all over. Just because I come from New York or Connecticut doesn't mean that first generation or students of color coming from DC or coming from California have had the exact same experience that I have. So going to the Office of Multicultural Affairs or the diversity office allows you to get that perspective coming from different areas, and being able to share your stories really helps grow the strength of the group, grow the strength of the underrepresented population. So now you guys don't necessarily have as many differences as you do similarities. And then your differences are now weapons to be able to go out and help other students that might not have the same type of voice or the same type of strength that you do, to say, you know what, come on in here. You've been here for a while, but you haven't stopped in. My story is similar to yours, or if it's not, I know somebody who is. Now let's build together. So definitely for me, at my university, there wasn't many of us, but we did have a BSU, and that BSU was a great connection, because, and I know this might sound funny, I'm coming from Bridgeport, Connecticut. I was only surrounded by African Americans and for the most part Latinos, but
Mexican and Puerto Ricans. I never knew what a Dominican was. And that's hilarious because up in Massachusetts, there's tons of Dominicans, and I just literally thought that they were just Black people. So when I met them, I was able to say, hey, wait a minute, you're Black, but you speak Spanish. And then a whole new world had opened up to me on the diaspora of culture. Now I was able to see myself, but through a different view and a different language, which added on to who I was as a person. And I ended up marrying a woman who was Dominican. So like, it was amazing. And all that came through being able to, you know, branch out of what I thought I knew going into college and getting involved in the Office of Diversity and Office of Multicultural Affairs.
Thank you, Mr. Troy, for speaking about your university. I'm going to speak a little bit about Wesleyan University in itself. So Wesleyan is a PWI, which is a predominantly white institution. But although that may be a negative sometimes, it also is a positive because they bring many aspects to support the people of color community and being a student of color on campus. Apart from education, we definitely capitalize on mental health. We have counselors specifically for people of color, and that's something that's heavily utilized on campus. It's always full. We have CAPS. We also have something called the Resource Center, which provides guidance through anything that you're going through. Even if you're at home during the summer and you need money, you need something supporting you need some sort of support. The Resource Center is something you can go to and speak to the director, and he will help guide you through any process that you're going through, or anything that you need help with, and you need someone to talk to, because you may not always be able to talk to your parents about something that you are going through. And apart from that, we have First Things First, which is a transitioning group that they hand select that helps you transition as a first gen, and you have that community throughout your entire years of college. I can say my best friends are from First Things First. We have multiple other things, but First Things First is something that they definitely center on. It's gotten much bigger as the years have gone along. My class was a class of 30, 35. Now it's like 60, and they're continuing to grow on First Things First because they see how impactful it is as you graduate through college, because having that community there is something that can definitely take you a long way apart from college, because you need your people along the way to help keep you up. And those are just a few resources that we have here at Wesleyan to help you as a person of color and a first gen to get you to push through. And yeah.
All right, thank you so much. So it looks like we are actually 2 minutes past the hour. So we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up here. However, this was an amazing panel, and thank you so much to the students. I know a lot of you all finished class tonight, finished work, and decided to log on and share your story and experiences with everyone here. So we really appreciate that. And then for our folks on the admissions and the college side, thank you so much. I know you all are also knee deep in work as well. So for all of the students and the families out there who submitted questions, thank you for those as well. For everyone else, you can go to mycoalition.org to create an account to get access to more events like these, and also other helpful resources. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram, which you saw in the chat, at Coalition for a College, for more advice and inspiration to your feed. So thank you, everyone. Have a great night, and hopefully we will see you all again at another event.